In a distant corner of the galaxy, far beyond the reach of Earth's primitive telescopes, an empire known as the Zexar Dominion ruled with unmatched arrogance. For centuries, they had expanded their territory across hundreds of star systems, conquering weaker species and exploiting planets for resources. To them, humanity was no more than a footnote, a joke whispered in the corridors of their gleaming warships. Kale, the leader of the Zexar Dominion, stood tall in his command chamber, gazing at a holographic projection of Earth. His sharp features twisted into a sneer as he turned to his advisor, Lena. "Look at this pathetic little world," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "A fragile ball of dirt and water, teeming with creatures who can barely scratch at the surface of space travel." He chuckled darkly, shaking his head. "They call themselves intelligent? They are nothing but insects crawling on a dying rock." Lena nodded silently, her expression unreadable. She had always shared Kale's contempt for lesser species. Yet something about humanity intrigued her. Perhaps it was their tenacity, the way they clung to life despite countless challenges, or maybe it was the spark of creativity that seemed to burn so brightly in their art, music, and stories. Whatever it was, she kept her thoughts to herself, knowing better than to question Kale's authority. Meanwhile, on Earth, life went on as usual. People woke up, went to work, spent time with family, and dreamed of brighter futures. Few paid attention to the stars above, let alone considered the possibility of alien life. Among these oblivious billions was June, a quiet yet brilliant astrophysicist working late nights at a research facility tucked away in South Korea. With messy hair and glasses perpetually sliding down his nose, June wasn't much of a social butterfly. But when it came to unraveling the mysteries of the universe, he was second to none. One evening, while analyzing data from a newly constructed array of telescopes, June noticed something unusual. Buried deep within the static of cosmic noise were faint signals, patterns too precise to be natural. At first, he thought it might be interference from Earth-based technology or some glitch in the equipment. But as he delved deeper, the truth became undeniable. These signals were artificial, originating from somewhere outside the Milky Way. June's heart raced as he traced the source of the transmission. It wasn't just one signal. It was many, forming a complex web of communication. What chilled him to the bone, however, was the content of the messages. Though fragmented and difficult to decipher, they hinted at plans for invasion and resource extraction. One phrase repeated itself. Over and over again, "Earth is ripe for conquest." Shaken but determined, June compiled his findings into a report and sent it to the United Nations Space Council, UNSC, the governing body responsible for coordinating global efforts related to space exploration. The response was swift but skeptical. Most council members dismissed the evidence as speculative nonsense, citing the lack of concrete proof. After all, humanity had never encountered extraterrestrial life before. Why should they start panicking now? But not everyone was so dismissive. Hyejin, a seasoned diplomat serving on the UNSC, listened intently as June presented his case. Her sharp eyes scanned the data, searching for flaws in his logic. Finding none, she leaned back in her chair and exhaled slowly. "This isn't something we can ignore," she said firmly. "Even if there's only a small chance this is real, we have a responsibility to investigate further." Hyejin's words carried weight, and soon the council reluctantly agreed to allocate limited resources toward monitoring the situation. Still, skepticism lingered in the air. Many believed June was chasing shadows, wasting precious time and money on what amounted to science fiction. As days turned into weeks, tensions began to rise. Unexplained phenomena started occurring around the globe. Strange lights streaking across the sky, sudden disruptions in satellite communications, and bizarre weather patterns unlike anything recorded before. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire fueled by fear and uncertainty. Some claimed aliens were already among us, hiding in plain sight. Others insisted it was all a hoax designed to distract people from pressing issues here on Earth. June, meanwhile, refused to give up. Working tirelessly in his lab, he pieced together fragments of the alien transmissions, hoping to uncover more clues. Late one night, As rain pounded against the windows, he stumbled upon a breakthrough. Hidden within the coded messages was a set of coordinates pointing to a specific region of space. Could this be where the invaders were coming from? Before he could share his discovery with anyone, disaster struck. A massive object entered Earth's atmosphere, glowing like a second sun as it descended toward the planet. Alarms blared worldwide as military forces scrambled to respond. Panic erupted in cities as people fled their homes, unsure whether the end of the world had finally arrived. The object didn't crash. It stopped abruptly in orbit, casting a long shadow over the planet below. Moments later, a chilling message, broadcast across every television, radio, and internet channel. An alien figure appeared on screens everywhere, its sleek silver armor reflecting an eerie light. Its voice, distorted and mechanical, reverberated through living rooms and public squares alike. "People of Earth," it began, its tone cold and condescending. "Your planet has been deemed suitable for integration into the Zexar Dominion. Resistance is futile. Surrender now, and you may retain some semblance of autonomy. Defy us, and you will face annihilation." The being identified itself as Kale, Supreme Commander of the Zexar Dominion. As he spoke, images flashed behind him, vast, fleets of warships, devastated worlds, and enslaved populations. Humanity's insignificance was made painfully clear. For a moment, the world held its breath. Then chaos erupted. Governments convened emergency meetings, scientists debated countermeasures, and ordinary citizens took to the streets, torn between terror and defiance. Amidst the turmoil, Hyejin stepped forward, addressing the global audience with calm determination. "We are humans," she declared, her voice steady and strong. "We do not bow to tyrants. We do not surrender our freedom. If the Zexar Dominion seeks to conquer us, they will find that we are not so easily broken." Her words ignited a spark of hope in millions. For the first time since the alien arrival, people dared to believe that humanity might stand a chance. And though the road ahead would undoubtedly be fraught with danger, one thing was certain: Earth would not go down without a fight. Far away, aboard his flagship, Kale watched the human response with growing irritation. "Fools," he muttered, under his breath. "Let them cling to their pride. It will make crushing them all the more satisfying." Beside him, Lena remained silent, her mind racing with questions she dared not ask aloud. What if these humans were different? What if they truly posed a threat? The arrival of the Zexar Dominion's massive warship in Earth's orbit sent shockwaves through every corner of the planet. The alien vessel loomed like a mountain in the sky, its sleek metallic surface reflecting sunlight with an ominous gleam. It was larger than any structure humanity had ever built, dwarfing even the tallest skyscrapers. For hours it remained stationary, casting a long shadow over the Earth as if daring humanity to make a move. Then, without warning, Kale's voice once again filled the airwaves. "Your leaders have been informed," the distorted voice echoed across televisions, radios, and smartphones. "Compliance is your only option. Resist, and you will suffer the consequences." This time, Kale's holographic image appeared not just on screens, but also in major cities around the world. Giant projections of the alien commander materialized in places like Times Square in New York, Tiananmen Square in Beijing, and Piccadilly Circus in London. His cold, calculating gaze seemed to pierce through the crowds below, instilling fear and awe in equal measure. Behind him, images of devastated planets flickered, worlds reduced to barren wastelands by the Zexar Dominion's relentless expansion. Panic spread like wildfire. People fled their homes, unsure whether the aliens would strike at any moment. Governments scrambled to respond, convening emergency meetings and issuing conflicting statements. Some urged calm, while others called for immediate military action. In the midst of this chaos, Hyejin emerged as a beacon of strength and resolve. Standing before the United Nations General Assembly, she delivered a speech that resonated with millions. "We are human beings," she began, her voice firm and unwavering. "Throughout our history, we have faced countless challenges, wars, famines, plagues, and yet we have endured. We have thrived. Today, we face a new challenge, one unlike anything we've encountered before. But I tell you this, we will not surrender. We will not bow to tyranny. If the Zexar Dominion seeks to conquer us, they will find that humanity does not go quietly into the night. Her words ignited a fire within people. Protests erupted worldwide, with citizens demanding unity and action. Social media platforms buzzed with hashtags like Stand with Earth and No to Zexar. Artists painted murals depicting humans standing tall against alien invaders, while musicians composed anthems of defiance. Even children joined the movement, holding up handmade signs that read, "We are not afraid." But defiance alone wouldn't be enough. Humanity needed a plan, a way to fight back against an enemy whose technology was centuries ahead of anything on Earth. That's where June came in. Back in his lab, June worked tirelessly to analyze the alien signals he had intercepted. With the help of a small team of scientists, including Yuna, a robotics engineer known for her innovative designs, he began piecing together clues about the Zexar Dominion's technology. Late nights turned into early mornings as they pored over data, running simulations and testing theories. Slowly but surely, they uncovered weaknesses in the alien shields, details that the arrogant Zexar forces had overlooked. One breakthrough came when Yuna suggested using Earth's existing satellite network to study the warship's energy signature. By triangulating signals from multiple satellites, they were able to map out fluctuations in the ship's defenses. These fluctuations, though brief, could potentially be exploited. Armed with this knowledge, June proposed a bold idea: develop a weapon capable of targeting these weak points. The concept was risky, requiring precision and coordination beyond anything humanity had attempted before, but June believed it was their best shot. He presented his findings to the newly formed Global Defense Initiative, GDI, a coalition of nations united under Hyejin's leadership. The GDI's mission was simple yet daunting: protect Earth at all costs. Among those tasked with turning June's ideas into reality was Dae Sung, a seasoned general known for his strategic brilliance. A grizzled veteran with decades of military experience, Dae Sung understood the stakes better than most. He knew that humanity's survival depended on making every resource count, from raw materials to manpower. Under his guidance, factories ramped up production of advanced weaponry, while training programs prepared soldiers for the battles to come. Despite the growing sense of purpose, not everyone shared the optimism. Skeptics argued that humanity was outmatched, pointing to the vast technological gap between Earth and the Zexar Dominion. Others feared retaliation, knowing full well that any act of defiance could provoke devastating attacks. Even within the GDI, tensions ran high as leaders debated the best course of action. Amidst the uncertainty, Hyejin remained steadfast. She traveled the globe, rallying support and reminding people of what they were fighting for. In speeches delivered to packed stadiums and quiet village squares alike, she emphasized the importance of unity. "We may come from different countries, speak different languages, and hold different beliefs," she said during one such address. "But today, we are one. Together, we will defend our home." Her words inspired countless acts of heroism. Farmers donated crops to feed soldiers. Engineers volunteered their expertise to build weapons. Teachers educated children about the importance of resilience. Ordinary citizens found extraordinary ways to contribute, proving that humanity's greatest strength lay not in its technology, but in its spirit. Meanwhile, aboard the Zexar flagship, Kale grew increasingly impatient. He had expected Earth to capitulate immediately, bowing to his demands without question. Instead, he found himself facing unprecedented resistance. Reports poured in from his scouts, detailing the rapid mobilization of human forces. Factories churned out ships and weapons at an alarming rate, while civilians rallied behind their leaders with a fervor he hadn't anticipated. "What is taking them so long?" Kyle snapped, pacing the command deck. "These primitives should be begging for mercy by now." Lena stood silently nearby, observing the unfolding situation with growing unease. She had always believed humanity to be insignificant, easily crushed under the weight of the Zexar Dominion's might. Yet here they were, defying expectations and refusing to back down. Something about their determination stirred memories she had long suppressed, memories of her own struggles against oppression within the Zexar ranks. As days passed, Kale decided it was time to send a message. Without warning, the warship unleashed a series of precision strikes, targeting key infrastructure across the globe. Power grids failed, communication networks collapsed, and entire cities plunged into darkness. The attacks were devastating, but carefully calculated, designed to instill fear without causing total annihilation. In the aftermath, Hyajin addressed the world once more. Standing amidst the ruins of a bombed-out city, she spoke directly to the cameras, her voice steady despite the destruction surrounding her. "They want us to be afraid," she said, her eyes blazing with defiance. "They want us to give up. But let me tell you something. Fear is not who we are. Courage is who we are. And courage is what will see us through." Her words galvanized humanity. Relief efforts sprang into action, with volunteers working around the clock to rebuild and recover. Engineers devised temporary solutions to restore power and communications, while doctors treated the wounded with whatever supplies they could scavenge. Amidst the rubble, people came together, proving that even in the darkest times, hope could shine through. June, too, refused to give up. Despite the mounting pressure, he continued refining his designs for the weapon that could exploit the Zexar, Shield's weak points. Working alongside Yuna, he tested prototypes and adjusted parameters, determined to create something that could turn the tide of the conflict. Their collaboration sparked a bond between them, forged in the crucible of shared purpose. "You know," Yuna remarked one night as they reviewed test results, "they laughed at us because they thought we were weak. But weakness isn't about falling. It's about staying down, and we're not staying down." June nodded, a faint smile crossing his face. "You're right. They'll see soon enough what happens when you underestimate humanity." Unbeknownst to them, Lena watched from afar, torn between loyalty to the Zexar Dominion and admiration for humanity's resilience. As she observed the humans' efforts, she realized that their strength lay not in their technology or numbers, but in their refusal to give up. It was a lesson she couldn't ignore, one that would soon force her to make a choice that could change everything. For now, however, the battle lines were drawn. The Zexar Dominion had underestimated humanity once. They wouldn't make the same mistake twice. And as Earth prepared for the fight of its life, one thing became clear. The laughter had ended. The time for action had begun. The Zexar Dominion's attacks left deep scars on Earth, but they also ignited a fire that burned brighter than ever before. Cities lay in ruins, power grids struggled to function, and millions of lives were disrupted. Yet amidst the devastation, something remarkable began to take shape: unity. For the first time in human history, nations put aside their differences and came together with a single purpose: to defend their home. Hyejin stood at the center of this unprecedented alliance. Her leadership had become a guiding light for humanity, earning her trust and admiration from people around the globe. She worked tirelessly, traveling between continents to ensure that every nation contributed to the Global Defense Initiative, GDI. From the icy tundras of Russia to the bustling streets of India, she inspired ordinary citizens and world leaders alike to join the fight. "Earth is not just a planet," she told a crowd gathered in a makeshift shelter after one of the Zexar strikes. "It's our home. It's where we've built our lives, raised our families, and dreamed our dreams. We will not let anyone take that away from us." Her words resonated deeply. People who had once been divided by borders, languages, and beliefs now found common ground in their shared struggle. Farmers donated food to feed soldiers. Engineers volunteered their skills to build weapons. Teachers educated children about resilience and courage. Even artists played a role, creating murals, songs, and poems that reminded everyone why they were fighting. June and his team became key players in the GDI's efforts. Working out of a secure underground lab, they focused on developing the weapon that could exploit the weak points in the Zexar shields. Yuna, the robotics engineer, brought fresh ideas to the table, suggesting ways to integrate artificial intelligence into their designs. Together, they created prototypes that pushed the limits of human ingenuity. Late nights turned into early mornings as the team tested and refined their creations. June often lost track of time, so absorbed was he in solving complex problems. Yuna noticed his exhaustion during one particularly grueling session and handed him a cup of coffee. "You can't save the world if you collapse from lack of sleep," she said with a small smile. "I'll rest when this is over," June replied, rubbing his tired eyes. "Right now, there's too much at stake." Yuna nodded, understanding the weight of responsibility he carried. Over time, their partnership evolved into a friendship forged in the heat of crisis. They challenged each other, supported each other, and shared moments of quiet reflection when the pressure became overwhelming. While June and Yuna worked on the weapon, Daesung coordinated military strategies across the globe. A seasoned general, with decades of experience, he knew how to make the most of limited resources. Under his guidance, armies trained relentlessly, preparing for battles against an enemy far superior in technology. He emphasized teamwork and adaptability, reminding soldiers that humanity's greatest strength lay in its ability to think creatively under pressure. "We may not have their weapons or ships," Daesung told a group of recruits during a training exercise, "but we have something they don't: heart. Never forget that." His words boosted morale among the troops, many of whom felt daunted by the odds stacked against them. Pilots like Min Su, a daring young man chosen for his exceptional flying skills, embraced the challenge with determination. Each day, he practiced maneuvers designed to outsmart the Zexar warships, knowing that success would depend on speed and precision. Despite the growing sense of unity, skepticism lingered in some corners. Critics argued that humanity was outmatched and that resistance would only lead to more destruction. Some called for surrender, believing it was better to negotiate terms than risk total annihilation. Hyojin faced these voices head-on, addressing concerns in public forums and private meetings. "We cannot give up," she insisted during a heated debate with a group of politicians. "Surrendering means losing everything, not just our freedom, but our dignity as a species. If we back down, now what kind of future are we leaving for our children?" Her arguments silenced many doubters, though tensions remained. Even within the GDI, disagreements arose over how best to allocate resources. Should they focus on building more weapons, or should they prioritize rebuilding infrastructure? These debates sometimes escalated into shouting matches, but Hyojin always managed to steer discussions back toward compromise. Meanwhile, aboard the Zexar flagship, Kale grew increasingly frustrated. The humans' defiance baffled him. He had expected them to crumble under the weight of his attacks, yet they continued to resist. Reports from his scouts revealed that Earth's defenses were improving rapidly, thanks in part to innovations developed by scientists like June. "What is wrong with them?" Kale muttered to himself, pacing the command deck. "Why won't they break?" Lena watched silently from the shadows, her thoughts swirling with doubt. She had spent years serving the Zexar Dominion without question, believing in its mission to expand and dominate. But witnessing humanity's resilience forced her to reconsider everything she thought she knew. Their refusal to surrender despite overwhelming odds stirred something deep within her, a longing for freedom she hadn't felt in years. One night, unable to shake her unease, Lena approached Kyle. "Perhaps we underestimated them," she ventured cautiously. "Their spirit. It's stronger than we anticipated." Kale glared at her, his expression darkening. "Spirit doesn't win wars," he snapped. "Technology does, and ours is far superior. If they refuse to submit, we will crush them completely." Lena nodded, though her mind raced with questions. Was crushing humanity truly the right path? Or was there another way? As she returned to her quarters, she made a decision that would change everything. Using encrypted channels, she began feeding intel to June, sharing details about the Zexar fleet's movements and vulnerabilities. It was a risky move, one that could cost her life if discovered, but she couldn't stand idly by while her own people destroyed a species capable of such bravery. Back on Earth, June noticed subtle changes in the data he received from space. Certain patterns emerged that seemed almost deliberate, hints rather than outright information. At first, he dismissed them as anomalies, but then he realized someone might be trying to help. Whoever it was, they were taking enormous risks to aid humanity. "This could be our chance," June said to Yuna, as they reviewed the latest findings. If we can confirm these patterns, we might have a real shot at hitting them where it hurts. Yuna agreed, her eyes lighting up with excitement. Let's run simulations based on this new data. We need to be ready when the time comes. They worked. The world around them continued to unite in ways no one had imagined. Communities banded together to support each other, sharing resources and offering shelter to those displaced by the attacks. Children collected scrap metal to recycle into ammunition, while elderly citizens knitted blankets for soldiers stationed in cold climates. Every act, no matter how small, contributed to the greater cause. In the midst of this collective effort, Heejin reflected on the incredible resilience of humanity. Despite the challenges they faced, people refused to give up. They adapted, innovated, and found strength in each other. It was a testament to the indomitable spirit that defined their species. "We've survived ice ages, plagues, and wars," Heejin said during a global broadcast. "We've overcome every obstacle because we never stop believing in ourselves. Today, we face a new challenge, but I have no doubt that we will rise to meet it. Together, we will show the universe that humanity is not to be underestimated." Her words echoed across the planet, reigniting hope in millions. People looked to the skies, not with fear but with determination. The Zexar Dominion had laughed at Earth, dismissing its inhabitants as insignificant. But humanity had proven them wrong. United and unyielding, they prepared to strike back, not out of hatred but out of love for their home and all it represented. The stage was set for humanity's first offensive. With Jun's weapon nearing completion, Daesung's strategies taking shape, and Lena's covert assistance providing critical intel, Earth was ready to show the Zexar Dominion what happened when they underestimated the power of a united species. The battle ahead would be fierce, but humanity was no longer afraid. They had found their strength, and nothing could take that away from them. The moment humanity had been preparing for finally arrived. After months of relentless effort, the Global Defense Initiative, GDI, launched its first offensive against the Zexar Dominion. It was a risky mission, one that required precision, bravery, and unwavering determination. If successful, it would deliver a blow to the invaders' confidence and prove that Earth was not as helpless as they believed. The target was a Zexar supply depot located near Jupiter's orbit. This depot served as a critical hub for the alien fleet, storing fuel, weapons, and other resources needed to sustain their operations. Destroying it would cripple their ability to launch further attacks on Earth. However, reaching the depot undetected would be no easy task. The Zexar forces were vigilant, patrolling the area with advanced drones and heavily armed cruisers. Leading the mission was Min Su, a daring pilot whose skills had earned him a reputation within the GDI. With sharp reflexes and nerves of steel, he was chosen to command a squadron of experimental fighter ships designed by Yuna and her team. These ships, equipped with stealth technology and Jun's prototype weapon, represented humanity's best chance at success. As the squadron prepared for departure, tension filled the air. Pilots performed final checks on their ships while engineers made last-minute adjustments. Heejin visited the hangar to address the crew, her presence calming yet inspiring. "You are about to do something extraordinary," she told them, her voice steady and strong. "This mission will show the Zexar Dominion that we are not afraid, that we will fight back. Remember why you're here, for your families, for your planet, for the future. Bring us victory." Her words resonated deeply with the pilots, including Min Su, who felt a mix of excitement and responsibility. He knew the odds were stacked against them, but he also knew failure was not an option. As the countdown began, he took a deep breath, mentally rehearsing every maneuver he would need to execute. The squadron launched into space, their ships gliding silently through the void. Using the stealth technology developed by Yuna, they avoided detection as they approached the supply depot. The massive structure loomed ahead, its surface bristling with defensive turrets and shield generators. It was a fortress in space, seemingly impenetrable. Minsu signaled his team to split up, each pilot taking a designated route to distract the enemy while he positioned himself for the final strike. The plan relied on timing and coordination. Any mistake could mean disaster. As the first wave of fighters engaged the Zexar patrols, chaos erupted. Laser beams streaked across the darkness, lighting up the battlefield like fireworks. Despite being outnumbered, the human pilots held their ground. Their smaller, more agile ships darted between the larger Zexar vessels, exploiting their slower response times. One by one, the enemy cruisers fell, their hulls torn apart by precise shots. But the cost was high. Several human ships were destroyed, their pilots lost in the vast emptiness of space. From her command center on Earth, Yuna watched the battle unfold with bated breath. Her heart raced as she monitored the status of each ship, praying for their safe return. She had poured her soul into building these machines, knowing they might be humanity's only hope. Seeing them in action filled her with pride, but also fear. Every explosion on screen meant lives lost, sacrifices made. Meanwhile, Minsu navigated toward the depot's weak point, a small section of the shield identified by June's research. Lena's covert intel had confirmed its location, giving the humans a crucial advantage. With his targeting system locked on, Minsu activated the prototype weapon mounted on his ship. A burst of energy surged forward, piercing through the shield and striking the depot's core. The impact was immediate and devastating. Explosions rippled across the structure, sending shock waves through the surrounding space. Fire engulfed the depot, consuming everything in its path. Cheers erupted among the surviving pilots as they realized the mission had succeeded. Against all odds, humanity had dealt the Zexar Dominion their first real blow. News of the victory spread quickly, electrifying Earth. For the first time since the invasion began, people dared to believe that humanity could win. Celebrations broke out in cities around the world, with crowds gathering in public squares to cheer and sing. Social media platforms lit up with messages of gratitude for the brave pilots who had risked everything. Heejin addressed the global audience once more, her tone triumphant yet solemn. Today we showed the universe what happens when you underestimate humanity. We may be small, but we are strong. We may lack advanced technology, but we have courage and ingenuity. Let this victory remind us that we are capable of greatness, and let it warn our enemies that we will not stop until they leave our skies. Her speech inspired millions, reigniting hope and determination. People returned to work with renewed vigor, knowing their efforts were making a difference. Factories increased production, volunteers doubled down on relief efforts, and scientists continued refining their designs. The victory near Jupiter proved that humanity could stand toe-to-toe with the Zexar Dominion if only they stayed united. But Kale was far from amused. When news of the depot's destruction reached him, his fury knew no bounds. He stormed onto the command deck, his face twisted with rage. "How could this happen?" he roared, slamming his fist against the control panel. "Primitive apes with inferior ships managed to destroy one of our depots? Impossible!" Lena stood quietly nearby, careful to mask her emotions. She had seen this coming, thanks to the intel she had leaked to June. Part of her felt satisfaction at seeing the Zexar forces humbled, but another part feared Kale's wrath. His anger radiated like a storm, threatening to consume anyone in its path. "This is unacceptable," Kale growled, pacing back and forth. "If they think this is enough to scare us, they are sorely mistaken. Order the fleet to retaliate immediately. Target their cities, make them regret ever challenging us." His decision sent waves of panic across Earth as reports of incoming attacks flooded the news. Cities braced for impact, evacuating civilians and fortifying defenses. Hospitals prepared for casualties, while emergency services worked around the clock to keep order. Despite the looming threat, however, morale remained high. People remembered the victory near Jupiter and clung to the belief that humanity could endure whatever came next. June and Yuna worked tirelessly to prepare for the inevitable retaliation. They analyzed data from the battle, identifying areas where their technology could improve. Yuna suggested upgrading the stealth systems to make the ships even harder to detect, while June focused on enhancing the prototype weapon's power output. Every second counted as they raced against time to give humanity an edge. Dae-Sung coordinated defensive strategies, ensuring that military forces were ready to respond to any attack. Troops stationed in key locations drilled relentlessly, practicing maneuvers designed to minimize casualties. Civilians pitched in too, turning basements into shelters and stockpiling supplies. The sense of unity that had emerged during the crisis only grew stronger as people rallied together once more. When the Zexar retaliation came, it was brutal. Dozens of cities suffered devastating strikes, reducing entire neighborhoods to rubble. Power grids failed again, plunging large areas into darkness. Hospitals struggled to treat the wounded, and communication networks collapsed under the strain. The loss of life was staggering, leaving scars that would take years to heal. Yet, even in the face of such destruction, humanity refused to break. Volunteers rushed to aid the injured, sharing food and water with those in need. Engineers worked tirelessly to restore essential services, improvising solutions with whatever materials they could find. Teachers comforted frightened children, reminding them that fear was temporary but resilience lasted forever. Hyejin visited the hardest-hit areas, offering words of encouragement and support. Standing amidst the ruins of a bombed-out city, she spoke directly to the survivors. "They want us to feel powerless," she said, her voice firm despite the devastation around her. "But they don't understand who we are. We are builders, dreamers, fighters, and no matter how many times they try to knock us down, we will rise again." Her words resonated deeply, inspiring acts of courage and kindness. Neighbors helped neighbors, strangers became friends, and communities found strength in their shared struggle. Even in the darkest moments, humanity's spirit shone brightly. Unbeknownst to most, Lena played a crucial role in mitigating the damage. Using her position within the Zexar command, she subtly altered targeting coordinates, steering some attacks away from densely populated areas. It was a dangerous game, one that could expose her at any moment. But she couldn't stand by and watch innocent lives be destroyed, not after witnessing humanity's resilience firsthand. As the dust settled and the initial shock wore off, people began to rebuild. Factories resumed production, schools reopened. Their doors and life slowly returned to normal. The scars of war remained visible, but so too did the determination to keep fighting. Humanity had proven it could strike back and survive, even when faced with overwhelming odds. The victory near Jupiter marked a turning point in the conflict. For the first time, the Zexar Dominion realized they were dealing with a species unlike any they had encountered before. The victory near Jupiter had given humanity a much-needed boost, but it was only the beginning. The Zexar Dominion's retaliation had left deep wounds across Earth, wounds that would take time to heal. Yet, amidst the destruction and loss, something remarkable began to emerge, a growing sense of hope. People saw that they could fight back, that their efforts mattered. And with each passing day, humanity grew stronger, more united, and more determined to reclaim its skies. Jun and his team worked around the clock to refine the prototype weapon that had proven so effective in the first strike. The quantum disruptor, as Yuna called it, was far from perfect. Its energy consumption was immense, and it required precise targeting to work. But Jun knew that with further improvements, it could become a game-changer in the war against the Zexar forces. Yuna played a crucial role in this process. Her expertise in robotics allowed her to design upgrades that made the weapon more efficient and easier to deploy. She also worked on integrating artificial intelligence into the system, enabling it to adapt to changing battlefield conditions. Late nights became the norm for both of them, fueled by endless cups of coffee and an unshakable belief in what they were building. "It's not just about winning battles," Yuna said one evening as they reviewed test results. "It's about showing them that we're not afraid to innovate, to think differently. That's how we'll win this war." Jun nodded, leaning back in his chair. His eyes were heavy with exhaustion, but there was a spark of determination in them. "You're right. They underestimated us because they thought we couldn't match their technology. But we don't need to copy them. We just need to outsmart them." Their collaboration brought them closer, forging a bond that went beyond professional respect. They shared moments of quiet reflection during breaks, discussing everything from their childhoods to their dreams for the future. For Jun, who had always been more comfortable with equations than conversations, these exchanges were a reminder of the human connections driving their fight. Meanwhile, Dae-sung coordinated global defense strategies, ensuring that Earth was ready for whatever came next. He understood that while the quantum disruptor was a powerful tool, it couldn't win the war alone. Humanity needed a comprehensive plan, one that combined military might, technological innovation, and sheer resilience. Under his leadership, soldiers trained relentlessly, preparing for missions that pushed the limits of endurance and skill. Pilots like Min Su continued honing their abilities, knowing that every flight could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Civilians contributed too, volunteering their time and resources to support the war effort. It was a collective endeavor, with everyone playing a part no matter how small. But challenges remained. Skeptics within the Global Defense Initiative, GDI, argued that humanity couldn't sustain prolonged conflict against an enemy as advanced as the Zexar Dominion. Some called for negotiations, suggesting that surrender might be the only way to avoid total annihilation. Hyejin faced these voices head-on, addressing concerns in public forums and private meetings. "We cannot give up," she insisted during a heated debate with a group of politicians. "Surrendering means losing everything, not just our freedom, but our dignity as a species. If we back down now, what kind of future are we leaving for our children?" Her arguments silenced many doubters, though tensions lingered. Even within the GDI, disagreements arose over resource allocation and strategic priorities. These debates sometimes escalated into shouting matches, but Hyejin always managed to steer discussions toward compromise. Her ability to unite people, even in the face of adversity, earned her widespread admiration. Back aboard the Zexar flagship, Kale's frustration reached new heights. The humans' defiance baffled him. He had expected them to crumble under the weight of his attacks, yet they continued to resist. Reports from his scouts revealed that Earth's defenses were improving rapidly, thanks in part to innovations developed by scientists like June. "What is wrong with them?" Kyle muttered to himself, pacing the command deck. "Why won't they break?" Lena watched silently from the shadows, her thoughts swirling with doubt. Witnessing humanity's resilience forced her to reconsider everything she thought she knew. Their refusal to surrender despite overwhelming odds stirred something deep within her, a longing for freedom she hadn't felt in years. One night, unable to shake her unease, Lena approached Kale. "Perhaps we underestimated them," she ventured cautiously. "Their spirit, it's stronger than we anticipated." Kale glared at her, his expression darkening. "Spirit doesn't win wars," he snapped. "Technology does, and ours is far superior. If they refuse to submit, we will crush them completely." Lena nodded, though her mind raced with questions. Was crushing humanity truly the right path, or was there another way? As she returned to her quarters, she made a decision that would change everything. Using encrypted channels, she continued feeding intel to June, sharing details about the Zexar fleet's movements and vulnerabilities. It was a risky move, one that could cost her life if discovered. But she couldn't stand idly by while her own people destroyed a species capable of such bravery. On Earth, preparations for the next phase of the war intensified. June and Yuna finalized the quantum disruptor, ensuring it was ready for deployment on a larger scale. Dae-sung devised bold strategies designed to exploit weaknesses in the Zexar defenses, and Hyejin rallied the world, reminding people why they were fighting. "This isn't just about survival," she told a crowd gathered in a makeshift shelter after another Zexar attack. "It's about proving that humanity has a place among the stars. We've shown the universe that we're not weak, not helpless. Now let's show them that we're unstoppable." Her words ignited a fire within millions. People looked to the skies, not with fear, but with determination. The Zexar Dominion had laughed at Earth, dismissing its inhabitants as insignificant. But humanity had proven them wrong. United and unyielding, they prepared to strike back, not out of hatred, but out of love for their home and all it represented. The stage was set for humanity's next offensive. With June's weapon nearing completion, Dae-sung's strategies taking shape, and Lena's covert assistance providing critical intel, Earth was ready to show the Zexar Dominion what happened when they underestimated the power of a united species. The battle ahead would be fierce, but humanity was no longer afraid. They had found their strength, and nothing could take that away from them. As the days passed, the sense of anticipation grew. Soldiers sharpened their skills, engineers fine-tuned. Their machines and civilians braced for what lay ahead. Everyone knew that the coming confrontation would test their limits, but they also knew they were ready. For the first time since the invasion began, hope outweighed fear. The laughter of the Zexar Dominion had faded, replaced by grudging respect and, perhaps even fear. Humanity had risen to the challenge, proving that courage and ingenuity could overcome even the greatest odds. And as they prepared to turn the tide of the war, one thing was certain. Earth would fight until the very end. The stage was set. The time had come. Humanity was ready to strike back, and this time, they wouldn't stop until the skies were theirs once more.